Today we are diving into the world of pinnipeds. We will be exploring their evolutionary history, ecology, and their unique physiology. Who are the pinnipeds? Pinnipeds are a part of the kingdom Animalia and the phylum Chordata. They are considered mammals and carnivores, putting them in the class Mammalia and the order Carnivora. Pinnipedia is a suborder that includes the three main pinniped families that still exist today. Phocidae are the true seals, which were the first to diverge evolutionarily. Then came Otaridae, which includes fur seals and sea lions, and finally Odobenidae are the walruses. There is a debate in the scientific community as to whether pinnipeds first diverged from bears in the order Ursidae or mustelids, such as otters and weasels, in the order Mustelidae. Pinnipeds are more similar morphologically to ursids, but are more genetically similar to mustelids. An emerging theory suggests that the Phocidae family of true seals may have first originated from the mustelids, while the Otaridae and Odobenidae families diverged from ursids. The Phocidae family, or true seals, is the most morphologically diverse family in all of Pinnipedia. As I mentioned, this family comprises the true seals, and there are two subfamilies within that distinguish the northern and southern species. These seals likely evolved during the Middle Miocene in the North Atlantic and used a southern route for dispersal. This is hypothesized because although some evidence suggests an earlier dispersal in the North Pacific, the Bering Land Bridge as well as extreme cold climate blocked access to the Arctic through the late Oligocene and early Miocene. Today, they can be found in all of the world's major water bodies except for the Indian Ocean. The Otaridae family is made up of the fur seals and sea lions. They diverged in the late Miocene between 5 and 11 million years ago, and they are the second most diverse family of pinnipeds as they have great variety in their body sizes. Most theories point to their split from Odobenidae in the late Miocene around 5 to 11 million years ago, and that they are monophyletic, meaning that every member of this family descended from one common ancestor. However, some evidence suggests that Otaridae may be paraphyletic, with northern sea lions as a sister group to southern fur seals and South American sea lions. Based on the fossil record, otarids appear to have been historically rare or sparse, possibly suggesting that they lived in the open ocean rather than switching between land and water as they do today. Although there is only one living species of walrus today, they were historically incredibly diverse. The earliest clear fossil depictions of Odobenidae suggest a divergence in the early Pliocene between 3 and 5 million years ago. Earliest ancestral fossils indicate that they spread through the Pacific to the northern Atlantic. Although they now only inhabit the Arctic Ocean, in the past they have been distributed across temperate and subtropical regions as well, suggesting that this may be a more recent adaptation. First up on the pinniped pedestal, we have the giant walrus, or Pontilus magnus. It is an extinct megafaunal species of the family Odobenidae. It does not only make the largest pinniped, the elephant seal, look small, but all carnivores, as it is believed to be the largest that has ever lived. They are estimated to have weighed between 2,000 to 4,000 kilograms, which can be nearly double the average the weight of a walrus today. However, they have similar body lengths of about 4 meters. Additionally, their upper canines are enlarged but did not develop into tusks as we see in extant walruses.
Next, we're going to discuss the ecology of pinnipeds, how they interact with each other and other organisms, both in the ocean and on land, and how their interactions have shaped their diversity today. A lot of the diversity of modern species of pinnipeds can be attributed to their diets. Different species have evolved specialized traits to take advantage of various food sources in the oceans. Most pinniped species consume multiple types of food to ensure that they will not starve if their preferred food source is absent. For example, in the Antarctic, southern elephant seals consume mostly cephalopods and fish, while Ross seals also eat cephalopods and fish, but they supplement their diet with krill. Meanwhile, the crab-eater seal specializes in eating large quantities of Antarctic krill. That's all that they eat. And leopard seals are the most generalist Antarctic species. They eat krill as the bulk of their diet, but they supplement by eating cephalopods, fish, penguins, and even the pups of other pinnipeds. Pinnipeds evolved to congregate in groups for 4 main reasons to help them survive in their harsh, cold habitats. The first reason is for food availability. They like to gather near reliable food sources, especially when their preferred food is seasonally congregated in one region, particularly during breeding seasons. The second reason is thermoregulation. They like to huddle for warmth, and it makes it a lot easier for them to thermoregulate in the sub-zero climates that they live in. They put their bodies next to each other and conserve heat. Now, the third reason, and likely the most important reason for them, is reproduction. It is a lot easier to find a mate when all of the females are congregated together on land. So this gives them a large advantage for finding mates. And the final reason is avoiding predation. It's easier to avoid predation when you're in a large group. Safety in numbers. For example, walruses group together to ward off predators like polar bears. And adult walruses will even stand their ground against the bears to protect young calves if the bear were to charge the herd. Pinniped species tend to practice two main mating systems. So they either practice aquatic mating or terrestrial mating, which are shown in the images here. Terrestrial mating typically involves a polygynous harem and likely developed as a byproduct of group formation as the females congregated near their reliable food sources. Whereas aquatic mating is typically non-polygynous and it occurs in more solitary pinniped species where the females don't congregate and they're more likely to be dispersed throughout the water. Now, fossil evidence suggests that the common ancestor between the otaurid and phosid families in the late Oligocene, which was about 25 million years ago, probably had a polygynous harem-based terrestrial mating system. Now, females congregated around that time, and it led to intense male-to-male competition, which has continued to this day, and the sexual selection of this competition has led to larger and more aggressive males for many species. In extant species, otaurids tend to have highly polygynous harem-based mating systems, whereas extant phosid species tend to have non-harem-based low polygyny systems of mating. But harems may have been more common for ancestral phosids and decreased as they became more aquatic. As they shifted to a more aquatic lifestyle to take advantage of the highly productive cold waters in the Antarctic, their food source was more evenly distributed, so they were less likely to congregate in one area for breeding. Now, onto sexual dimorphism. Many species of pinnipeds are highly sexually dimorphic. There's a large degree of association between their polygynous mating systems and the sexual dimorphism in extant species. Fossils from ancestral phosids that likely practiced aquatic mating had significantly less signs of their sexual dimorphism compared to fossils from ancestral otaurid species that show an expansion of their rostrum, their basicranium, their mastoid in males, which suggests that they had larger canine teeth and neck muscles that would be associated with land-based male-to-male combat. Next on our pinniped pedestal is the crab-eater seal, known as Lobodon carcinophaga. It is part of the family Phocidae, and it is the only species in that genus. The crab-eater seal is a krill-feeding specialist. It lives year-round on the Antarctic pack ice. It is the most abundant pinniped species in the world, with population estimates ranging from 7 million to over 50 million individuals. They are specially adapted to eat krill, which are incredibly abundant in the cold Antarctic waters. They are so successful at eating krill that they consume over 60 million tons of krill annually, which is more than baleen whale populations consume each year. Their teeth are specially adapted to form a sieve with a maximum gap of about 2.5 millimeters between their teeth. This keeps the krill in their mouth as they eject water out before they swallow. They can also use their mouths to produce strong suction, which allows them to suck krill out of ice crevasses where they like to spend their winters. As populous as crab-eater seals are now, they're believed to have had an even larger population and a range extending much further north during the colder Pleistocene period. But as the glaciers receded, they moved further south, and now they are only found in Antarctica.
Lastly, we are going to discuss the shared traits and physiological adaptations that make pinnipeds adapted for life on land and in water. First, we are going to talk about traits shared by all families of pinnipeds. Pinnipeds have a variety of feeding strategies and tooth structures that vary based on diet, family, and individual species. They share a variety of physiological adaptations. Most notably, they all have modified appendages that are now fins or flippers. They can also have a reduced or lack of an external ear pinnae. They all have reduced mobility on land in favor of increased mobility in water, although some families have more mobility on land than others, which we will look at later. In order to be successful divers, they have adaptations related to high pressure and apnea. This includes an increased ability to store oxygen due to an enlarged spleen as well as increased hemoglobin. Recent studies have shown that pinnipeds can experience extreme levels of hypoxemia, resulting in near complete depletion of blood oxygen stores while diving. As much as 91% of arterial and 100% of venous blood oxygen stores being used. Also associated with diving are adaptations related to breath holding. They can go bradycardic when diving, which means that they can decrease their heart rate, contributing to their ability to dive for longer. This, combined with their higher blood oxygen level, allows for successful long dives. Because of life in saltwater and on land, pinnipeds need to be able to control osmoregulation. They do this by having well-developed nasal turbinates to minimize water loss due to respiratory evaporation, as well as the ability to produce highly concentrated urine. This is mostly used while on land for long periods of time. While fasting, adults show some of the lowest mass-specific efflux rates in nature. They have adaptations related to sensory systems. They have underwater directional hearing and visual sensitivity at low light levels. As far as thermoregulation, they must maintain a core body temp of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Adaptations for this include thick blubber and/or dense fur, large body size, high metabolic rates, as well as countercurrent heat exchange, which reduces heat loss from appendages by limiting the blood supply to them and redirecting it to the internal organs to keep warm. As much as 50% of body weight can be blubber at certain points of the year, especially before birthing and mating season. Adaptations to lactation physiology generally fall under two strategies, differing between families. Generally, phocids fast completely during lactation, while otarids feed during lactation. On the topic of fasting, the last shared traits of pinnipeds that I will discuss are those related to fasting and energy use. Most energy reserves come from adipose tissue. This allows them to minimize lean body mass loss. They have the ability to not use protein while fasting, thus reducing vital organ damage, and allows for protein to be stored. Pinnipeds also use a glucose metabolism that relies on carbs for glucose-dependent tissues. Because of their limited ability to store carbs, they must rely on gluconeogenesis to sustain those tissues. Many pinnipeds fast for long periods of time during the breeding and molting season, which corresponds to when they're on land for extended periods of time. Males fast for as long as 3 months to maintain territory while competing for land during breeding season, and many females fast completely for over a month while tending to their pups. Most of the time, extended fasts are related to behaviors that take large amounts of energy, such as lactation. As a result, this can cause them to lose up to 40% of their stored body reserves during these times. Now I'm going to break down unique adaptations found in each of the pinnipeds, starting with family Phocidae, or true seals. Common family traits include lack of external pinnae, internal testes. They are generally larger in size and have inflexible hind limbs, with an inability to draw their hind limb forward under their body when on land. Specific adaptations to locomotion include a tendency to spend more time in water compared to eared seals, swimming slower and performing deeper, longer dives. They are less efficient on land because they cannot rotate their front fins underneath them, thus in turn reduces energy spent on movement, saving more of it for diving. For their lactation strategy, they are capital breeders, meaning they use a buildup of energy reserves acquired throughout the year. They then fast during lactation. This leads to a significantly shortened lactation period because of reduced energy available, because lactation is the most energetically expensive process for a female. This favors larger female body size and increased caloric intake because of the need to build up fat energy stores. They increase their caloric intake during the year before breeding by about 12%. Next is family Otaridae, aka the fur seals and sea lions. Shared family traits include manes that are found on males, external pinnae with an air-filled auditory canal more similar to terrestrial mammals than aquatic, larger eyes with an all-rod retina, and well-developed tapetum lucidum suggests that they can visually feed at night. Other traits include larger flipper and pectoral muscles than found in phocids, as well as being able to rotate their rear flippers. Some unique reproductive traits found in otarids are that females feed while lactating. They continue to feed while nursing their pups, making regular visits to shore from birth till weaning. This can be restrictive because the mother must find abundant prey close to the shore and cannot be away for extended periods of time. This often causes shorter lactation duration. Females have post-birth estrus, with a long period of time on land that is ideal for mating. They have a period of embryonic diapause for 3 to 4 months, followed by an 8 to 9 month gestation, allowing them to have a 12-month breeding cycle, limiting long periods of time on land. Males obtain and guard territory for access to females, but do not defend the females themselves. Females choose a site to have pups and mate with the males with overlapping or close territories. Lastly, family Odobenidae, or the walruses. They are physiologically the most different from the other families in appearance, with some unique adaptations including flat noses, enlarged upper canines that form tusks made out of dentin, as well as strong tongues that are used to make low-pressure environments to suck the meat out of clams. They have a rotund body where axillary girth is almost equal to body length. Their fur is short or absent on parts of the body, such as appendages, which are hairless and have rough soles. Their skin is tough and can be 2 to 4 centimeters thick, and is thickest around the neck and above the whiskers. The skin is even thicker in males around the neck and covered in fibrous tubercles, 1 centimeter thick. These tubercles are used to protect against other male tusks and physical acts of competition. They have blubber with varying thickness in parts of the body, but can be up to 10 centimeters thick. They have a unique skull structure. Their thick skull is strong, with a broader front than other pinnipeds. Tusks are also strong and can be used to haul the body out of water onto the ice. They have an open orbital cavity on the dorsal side, allowing them to look in the direction they are moving and upward at the same time, while plowing through ice at a 45-degree angle. They possess flexible flippers, where their hind flippers can rotate forward like otarids for movement on ice and land. When swimming, hind flippers are used for propulsion, and the fore flippers are used for steering. This is opposite of otarids, who use fore flippers for propulsion and hind flippers for steering. Our final pinniped pedestal is the Cystophoria cristata, or better known as the hooded seal. They are the sole species in the genus Cystophoria. They are known for having distinct sexual dimorphism, with males showing multiple secondary sex characteristics, one of which being an inflatable hood above the nose, which is where they get their common name, hooded seal. The second is a bulging red sac, which is actually their nasal septum that can be inflated. Both of these traits are primarily used during breeding season as a part of sexual selection, although the hood can be inflated at other times of the year as a threat signal. We hope you enjoyed learning all about pinnipeds. Do you have a favorite pinniped family? You can vote for them on our poll through the QR code or the link in the description. Thanks for watching.